Alrighty, CNT120, Chapter 6, we're working on our lab. We did the initial setup on the connection of the router, and we browsed it initially and just got the basics started. We're now going to browse back in and do the wireless settings. So on my desktop here, again my desktop device here that we've been using, I'll go back to our physical tab here. On the desktop device, we're going to open our browser again, and we're going to browse back into our access point, our small office, home office router. All right, come on, browser, 216.8.0.1, admin. Once I do that, I will get the initial splash screen here. I'm going to make it larger so I can see more. What we want to do now is we want to get to the wireless tab, and we want to put in our basic wireless settings. So we did the initial setup here. We now want to go over to the wireless tab, and in the basic wireless settings, we want to set up a 2.4 band, and we also want to set up a 5 gig band. And what we're going to do is connecting one of our laptops to the 2.4 and the other one to the 5, just to kind of give you a heads up of what the plan is. So for the first one up here, the 2.4 gig band, we're going to plug these settings in auto. We're going to put an SSID in, and then we'll set our channels and so forth. So the 2.4 auto, the SSID, I'm going to use Brown 2.4. You use your name for the SSID. So I'm going to do Brown 2.4. But you use your name for your SSID. You could be first name, last name, whatever. But do that so it's kind of specialized to you. We'll enable the broadcast to that. For our channel, we'll use channel 1. But this is where if you were setting this up where you had neighbors or other devices running on other channels, you might actually pick, a 6 or a 10 or something to be away from a lot of interference on certain channels. That's where you would do that. Channel bandwidth, we'll leave that on auto. Here under they have a 5 gigahertz 2. We're going to disable this one, and we're just going to configure the 5 gigahertz 1. And that's what I do here about 5 gigahertz 2 disable, and then we'll put these settings in on the 5 gigahertz 1 band. So here again, auto. Over here I will do, you use your name again. I'm going to use Brown 5 for my SSID. I'll enable that. And I think for the standard channel we'll use 36 this time. Yeah, we used basically the first one on the list. And we'll leave the bandwidth, we'll set that at auto. That way it'll kind of maximize that for us. So I have a 2.4 SSID set up. I disabled the 5 gigahertz 2, the 2 channel, I disabled that one, and the 5 gigahertz 1 I plugged in my Brown 5 and set that 36 in auto. So I will scroll down here and I will do save settings. I'll let that apply, and then we will go to the wireless security tab, and we're going to put in our security settings for these 2 frequency bands that we set up. Alright, so let's go over here to the wireless security. I'm actually going to go setup. I'm going to go back to wireless and make sure those look like they're plugged in, and they look like they are. Lovely. I will go to wireless security now, and I will do this is why I had you disable the 2, because it put on the last page, it put 2 here and then 1 here and then 1 here and 2 here, and it got confusing. So I'm like, just disable 2, that we don't have to worry about it. So my 2.4 gigahertz band, we want to do WPA2 personal, we're not going to use a server, so we're not going to do enterprise, so we'll do WPA2 personal. We'll use AES, and then we'll use password 24 for the 2.4, if you will, just to keep our initial settings a little easier to remember when we're doing the setup. In real life, you would need to use much more secure passphrases here. 5 gigahertz 1 band, again, we'll do WPA2 personal, and then AES, yep, and then we'll do password 5 for this one. I know, not very secure this time through, but it's just part of the learning process. 5 gigahertz 2, we'll leave that disabled. So then we will scroll down, we'll do save settings on this guy as well. Disabled, there we go. Scroll down here, do save settings on this guy. So now we're going to end up closing the browser on the desktop here, and we'll then worry about starting to connect our wireless devices. So what I'll do up here is I'm just going to do a basic wireless, look at that, and I'll go back and look at wireless security and make sure that got plugged in, and it looks like it did. Wonderful. All right, so I'm going to close the browser here. I'm going to close my desktop of my desktop computer that's here. Okay, so now we're going to start connecting in the wireless devices. So we're going to take the laptop labeled 2.4 and connect it into the 2.4 gigahertz network, and then eventually we're going to do the laptop 5 into the 5 gigahertz network. Okay, so the 2.4, we're going to locate that guy. So I'll scroll over here. Let me get rid of that extra window that popped up. And this should be our laptop 2.4, and over here is the laptop 5. So the laptop 2.4, I will click on this so I can kind of open its home page. And this already has a wireless NIC installed in it. So we'll open the desktop and we're going to verify its IP configuration settings. Let's go to desktop, IP configuration. It is set for DHCP. Good. Okay. Now that we know that's set, let's go to the wireless utility, and we want to try to connect to our 2.4 network. So here's the wireless utility, and we're going to look for the 2.4 network. So we're going to look for the one that's the 2.4. We have 2.4 and 5. This is my 2.4 laptop, so I want to connect to the 2.4 network. So I will highlight that, and I will do connect, and I will plug in my password for the 2.4 network, which was password 24. And here I make sure I have WPA2 personal so it matches my wireless network using password 24, the one we set, and then we will do connect. And we're going to give it a second to connect. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to slide this over, and I should hopefully be connected. And I think I tell you here, nope, I don't tell you here. I'm going to, if I go back to my wireless utility, it actually shows my link there. If I actually go back to the link information, it shows me I'm connected, which is good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to verify that it's getting an IP address from my network. So I will close this, close that, I'll go back to my command prompt. I'm going to do an IP config and see what I'm getting. And I'm getting a 192.168.0.101, which makes sense. The desktop got 100. This is getting the next one at 101. Yay! Okay. So now let's browse to our CNT.org website and see if we can get there. So I will close this out. I'll open up my browser. I will try to connect to my CNT.org. www.cnt.org, and hopefully we will get there for our wireless network. You can do it, little laptop. You can do it. I know you can. There we go. Welcome to the CNT server for Chap6Lab. Kudos, keep up the good work. Yay. All right. So we have connected. So this laptop should be on the network and functioning. All right. If you haven't saved in a while, do that. I don't think I've saved yet, so I'm going to save right now. I'm going to repeat this exact same process for the laptop 5 to connect to the laptop 5 network. So I'm going to scroll over here. I'm going to click on laptop 5 now. I'm going to do the exact same process. I'll go to the desktop, make sure it's set for DHCP. Okay. It's not going to pick anything up yet. That's fine. But I want to make sure it is set for DHCP. I'm going to go to my wireless utility. And I'm going to now look for the 5, the SSID that has 5 in. Brown 5. So I will try to connect to that one. WPA2 personal. And now we will use the password 5 to connect to that one. So we'll give that a second, and if I go to link information, it should hopefully show me it's connected. Excellent. I will close this. I'm going to go to my command prompt, and I'm going to look at the IP config and see if I'm getting an IP from the network. And I am. I'm getting a 102. Excellent. If for any reason I don't in this case, I would go over here and I would cycle this off and on and just try to make sure you're picking one up. So I'm going to open up the browser. and I'm going to try to open up my google.com website, if you will. I think I actually have Google over here configured as a website. So let's try the google.com website. There we go. Welcome to the Google homepage. Yay. I know it's really generic, but you get the idea. I was hitting the other server that's over there this time. All right. Excellent. So now that we have the laptops connected, we're going to, in the next podcast, add in the MAC filtering so that only these laptops can be getting onto these networks.